Hey there, fellow maker. Welcome to the shop. You've got Bill today, and I am revisiting an old project. We actually showed this off a couple months ago. I showed off a bunch of free STL files that we have up on our website. One of those was the Thirst Zapper from Fallout. This is technically the one from Fallout 4. And I started this years ago. In fact, we've already built one of these on the channel. My friend Allie did the Nuka girl costume, and we put this together for her costume. We have a video if you want to go check that out, but this one's going to be a little bit different. This one I printed way back then, at least 5 years ago, but I started building out a functional squirt gun mechanism for the whole thing. And I did that in an old Tested video with my buddy Norm over at Tested. I don't think that video ever came out because we never finished it. It was halfway done. I was down in San Francisco, and I had to leave. And then I believe there was a pandemic, so we never got around to finishing it. But I'm going to do that today for a special cause. My buddy Zack Finfrock from the Fallout Nuka Break series from days ago. He's doing another Fallout fan film, and it would be perfect if his character Sprig had a Thirst Zapper because he loves Nuka-Cola. And Twig, his character's name is Twig, not Sprig. We've been playing Grounded, and you pick up a lot of Sprigs in that game. But Twig loves his Nuka-Cola, so we're going to make him a functional squirting Thirst Zapper, which is like perfect for the lore. I've got all my parts printed. I've already mostly sanded these, so we don't have to cover that again. But why don't I dive in a little closer, and I'll show you the progress we've made so far. We started by getting our hands on the smallest squirt guns we could find. These little jobbies here, they're adorable, and I believe they still work. You can see we lopped the ends off of them, maybe added an extension here for the trigger. That might be necessary for, yeah, so you can actually reach it there. And then I had to hog out a lot of material. You can see all the infill in there to make it so these could fit. Now this wasn't designed to have a squirting mechanism, so we had to get a little drastic to make room, but you can see that the squirt gun fits in there, and then the handle fits over it mostly. I may have to remove a little more material on this to get everything to fit together really well, but that's basically what we're going for there. I'll have to sculpt a little more to cover the squirt gun portion, but then the end cap will cover that. Now as far as the squirting mechanism goes, I obviously needed to like Joker revolver extend the barrel of it so it could fit all the way through to the end there. And I'm going to put a little water in here and see if it actually works the way I want it to. It's been 5 or 6 years since I got to play with this thing, so I don't even know if it works. All right, so that's that. We've got our extended barrel there. And it works great. That is terrific news. I don't need to re-engineer any of that. All I need to do is make this the length that it needs to be for our toy. And we've got a bunch of barrel parts that come through here. And that'll just be right at the end. I'll have to make sure this is the correct length. I might have already done that, but we'll have to see. And then we can start putting our parts together. It is fascinating diving into a project I haven't touched in like 5 years. I used to fly down to San Francisco every couple of months and film stuff with Tested. This was before the pandemic. And this was one of those things that we were working on. And then I set it aside and haven't touched it since. So revisiting my old work, fascinating. See how I used to do stuff. See, this all goes together like that. So that's nice and solid. And that'll go into here. I'm going to wait to glue all these parts together until I've painted them because these are different colors. But for now, we can just slide that all together. And then this goes in there. Whoop. Just like that. And there is our tube. At some point, I rescued the squirt tip from the squirt gun, and that needs to go on there. But I need to shorten this tube a little bit, and then I think I need to make some sort of adapter so that this all rests nicely inside of there, and I can cut something out on the lathe to do that. To shorten this, I think it can go almost all the way down to about there. Yeah, so we'll cut that, and then let's go make a little adapter for this on the lathe. All right, 8 to go. 16.95. Let's see if this is gonna fit. Oh yeah, that's what we want right there. Cut that off. Ow! That could have gone better. My cutoff tool popped it off the chuck there, so I had to cut it off by hand. But that's okay. The back you'll never see, and this should fit right in there. Let's press that in. That doesn't seem like it wants to come out, so that's good news. And then when this is like that, then this can go. So I think I have to put this in first. And then that can go on the thing. Like that. And I think I can even make that tube a little shorter so that this all gets a little tighter in there. But that is what we're aiming for. All right, next issue is the back of the squirt gun intersects this piece here, and I could try and hog some material out of the back of that, but I think I'm just going to cut the back of this flat and cap it, and I want to figure that out. Well, I've got it installed. All right, now we're going to remove that back nice and flat like, and then we'll cap it off. I'm going to cap it with this piece of styrene here, so I will trace out the rough shape. Nailed it. We will cut this out just a little oversized. We can like sand it down to shape later. Yeah, looks about right. I'm gonna do super glue for this. I think that ought to work. Just make sure we get a little glue around the whole edge. It's got a seal. Well, my fingers glued to it. And it's all done. Ta-da! There we go. I can just trim away most of the extra here. It doesn't need to look pretty. This is going to be entombed in our thing. But we do want to make sure it fits. Let's give it a look here. That goes in and is now no longer proud, and that can cover it up. Awesome. We're going to be really happy we did that. I'm about ready to install this in the 3D printed part there, and I just want to give the plastic here a little tooth so the glue has something to grab onto. So I'm hitting it with some 100 grit. Pretty much everywhere it's going to get glued. I think to glue this into the body, we're going to use hot glue. I have to do some complicated combining here. So I have this brass tube that's going to go in so that I can refill it with water. And that can only get installed once this has been installed in the print. So there's a specific order of operations we have to maintain here so that it all goes together correctly. Time for assembly. This is probably the one shot we have. I've been practicing my order of operations here, so I think I've got it. Let's just do it. Hot glue goes in there. This goes through. And then I really need to make sure that this lines up while it'll still move. Very good. Need to make sure this will fit. Cool. That looks pretty good there. And this can still fit on like that. I think it's pretty well set. I need to put hot glue in here and there, I think, to really sort of lock it in place. Let's do that now. Now this is the refilling tube here. I'm gonna have to cut that off later. I need to make sure it's got a watertight seal on the inside, so I'm just gonna cover it in hot glue and hope for the best. I'm just filling it with hot glue. And hopefully that, like, maybe if I twist this? Oh yeah. I think we got hot glue all the way around that, hopefully creating a seal. It's time to glue the handle on. I'm going with a 5-minute epoxy here, so I have a little time. Okay, all stirred up. Bit of glue in there. Bit of glue in there. I guess the only thing I need to worry about is getting glue on the mechanism, the squirting mechanism, the trigger thing. All right, we got that. We're going to put a bunch of hot glue in the bottom here too, because I think there's some extra space in there for it to take up. Okay, here we go. I hope that enough spots are touching. Let's get that taped. So for clamping, I'm just gonna tape it down. And then I think I want to put a little more glue around these edges here. Just try and get it to sneak down in there. This is all gonna get filled with epoxy clay later, so it doesn't have to be pretty. We're gonna come in and dress this up a little bit. Our epoxy has fully cured. Means our handle is stuck in there all nice. Like I went and scuffed up everything again with some sandpaper. And now we're gonna sculpt over all of this. And I've got, this is an epoxy putty. This is the smooth on version, freeform Sculpt. It's a 2-part epoxy. We have these 2 parts that can mix together. And then you've got like half an hour of working time to sculpt it and everywhere, and then it'll cure overnight, and then we can sand it and everything tomorrow. This stuff's great because you have all that working time to get it pretty close to where you want it, but then you can come back in with sandpaper and get it perfect. And we twist the colors together. We've made a delicious dessert. There we go, all mixed up. Nice and warm too, ready for sculpting. I'm gonna start by just putting down a lot of this. You can use water to keep it from sticking to your fingers. I'm just gonna fill the areas I need to fill with more than I need, then I'll come back in and sculpt it a little bit. I really want to make sure it gets down into the crevices and everything, the seams. And then I'll need to build up a little bit right here. So this is nice and, this transition is nice and smooth. I mentioned that you can download the files to print one of these yourself. Of course, if you want to turn it into a squirt gun, you're gonna have to do a lot of the extra legwork that I'm doing here. But we've actually uploaded all of our free 3D printing files to our new profile over on Printables. We started a new thing called GizmoThrill. We're gonna be making new, cool, fun to assemble 3D printed kits, like our little scooter, the tugboat, or my enchanted padlock, or Brit's desktop dragon. These are some fun new projects we put together. We have a membership over there if you want to join our club, or you can always just download the free models or some of the paid models that are over there. But yeah, that's our new thing that we've got going on. We're really excited about doing more 3D printing stuff. So if you want to check that out, we'll have a link to the GizmoThrill printables page. You can go check that out for yourself. Do some fun 3D printing. And of course, this model is up there for free if you want to get it and make one of your own. This part has to go here, so if I press that, I can get a perfect shape. That's so handy. Scoop this stuff out of there. There's this this detail here that goes around it, and I've decided it's just gonna end here. The actor's hand will be covering this part. I don't know if anyone's gonna call me on the missing details going up the back there. All right, I've got to the point where the more prodding I do, the worse it looks. So I think I'm gonna let this cure overnight, and then tomorrow I can come in and just sand it and make it look really pretty. I also want to fill in this gap around the reloading port here. A little bit of this epoxy sculpt. We'll cut this flat later. Today is a new day. Our freeform sculpt here isn't quite fully cured yet. This should be a little more rigid. It was a little cold down here last night. That could have been why. Also, this stuff's very old, so that might be why too. I think it just needs a little more time. We can still work with it. I definitely need to trim the tube off here. This is our refilling tube. I want that to be nice and flush. I don't want any material falling down into the reservoir, so I'm going to plug it with this piece of foam and then be able to pull it out. This is just a foam dowel, useful for so many things. We're just going to stuff that. That's probably more than we need. Stuff that down in there. And then we can retrieve it once we've cut and sanded this whole part. I hope. There we go. Now for the cutting, I'm going to go around it with this little saw and carefully trim it away. Actually, I should put tape around this so I don't scratch the crap out of that. Got this sanded down flush. There's some little divots and stuff though that I want to fill with this spot putty. This stuff cures in about half an hour and it fills in all the little bits. So I can come back in and sand this. The half cured epoxy putty there seemed to sand okay, but we'll let this part cure here and we'll come in and sand this all nice and smooth. I let everything cure for another day. This old epoxy putty took some time, but it's now rigid enough to snap, which means it's probably good enough to sand. I can start by sanding the filler stuff that I did right here, some 400 grit. This will leave us with all the little dents and stuff filled in from the sawing and all that work I did earlier. Our sculpted clay part here is ready to go. I've got a pretty rough file here to remove a lot of material if I can and get it down to shape. There's a lot of extra material on here. It's easier to put too much on and sand down to it than to have to keep mixing up batches and adding more. I guess it's quicker. You don't have to wait for all that curing time. So I tend to go overboard with this and then work our way down to the form that we want. Just finishing up the last bit of sanding here. There's some spot putty on a couple of little spots here and I'm just touching them up. We're going to start priming it soon, but I need to worry about like areas where I'm going to glue things. So I'm gonna mask this area off here so we don't cover that in paint. Eventually that's gonna get glued down. Just got some normal masking tape here, and I'm gonna wedge it down into the spot I wanna mask off. And it doesn't need to be super pretty. We just need to make sure we keep the paint from getting anywhere that's gonna need to grab. Just come around and trim it. There we go. And then I need to, so now that part's masked off, and this can go in there, and that's ready for painting. Got everything masked, just about ready to hit it with primer. I've got this degreaser here to wipe off any last bits of my hand grease or any dust or whatever left over. And then I've got everything set up here on sticks so that I can easily spray paint all of them. Got this fine surface primer. I love this stuff. Goes on so smooth. The primer went on great. It's nice and dry. Time for the colors. We're gonna airbrush those. I've got some Createx here. On all the parts that are meant to be silver, I'm gonna start with a black base coat. We'll put a metallic over that. And then for the red parts, we'll use this red. I even have a little bit of a shimmery red, kind of a pearl red. I might throw a little bit of that in there. But let's start with the black. We'll get all of these things base coated nice and fast. We let all this airbrushed paint dry overnight. We're gonna clear coat it, but before I do that, we have these Nuka-Cola logos that need to go on the side. These are cut from adhesive backed vinyl. We've got a vinyl cutter that just cut it out for us, and now I can peel it off the backing. There we go, and then we just line it up as best we can. Looks pretty good. Peel it off a bit and get these to go around that compound curve a little better. There we go. We don't want the text to buckle at all. There we go, that's pretty good. We can just do the other side now. For the clear coat, we're taking the nuclear option. This stuff is a little pricey, but it's catalyzed. That means it's got a two-part thing right in the can. We just take this thing out here and we pop it on the bottom. Like that. And then we give the whole thing a shake and it mixes a catalyst in there. And you have 45 hours, 48 hours-ish to use it all before it goes solid. What's cool about it is it's a nice high gloss, and we'll spray it on, and because it's catalyzed, it will cure completely in just a couple of hours. For our chromed parts, these will eventually be hit with the chrome. This is going to leave a nice glossy finish that's very permanent that we can spray the chrome on top of, and then we'll spray this again to clear coat that. The red parts are just going to get the clear coat, and again, it's going to have that nice glossy, shiny finish that we want. That looks so incredible. We've let this dry for about an hour and a half. It still needs a little more time, but we can add the silver to all of our black parts. I went through all my paints. I was looking for an all clad. I'm a little low. So we've got this Tamiya silver leaf spray. We're gonna do that on all the black parts. But man, that looks good. It just looks so good. Let our paint dry a little bit longer and it's time for the top coat. We're gonna put clear over everything. So all the silver stuff's getting clear. I'm gonna put a second coat of clear on the red as well, so we have a nice protective shell. We let the finish cure for a full day, and let me tell you, it turned out great. It looks so shiny and perfect, and I really, really love it. Next thing I want to do is a quick test firing. Make sure the squirting mechanism still works. If I peel this off, we can see I'm going to be closing this part here, and this is my last chance to get at anything in here in the hopes that I might be able to fix it if anything's wrong. So let's get this little foam plug out that I put in there. There we go. I've even 3D printed a little cap to contain whatever liquid water we put in there that we want to fire out of it. So that's good. I guess we put some water in there and see if it still squirts. And then for the nozzle, I've got this bright green one that came with it, but that's a little too bright for me. So I made a new one out of aluminum. I just turned this over on the lathe, tried to match all of the dimensions of the store-bought one. Oh yeah. And that goes right on the end there. And then if we, I have to pull the tape out of the trigger so that I can squeeze that. There we go. Now if we squeeze it, oh, you know what? The reservoir on the bottom, there's like an inch where it doesn't even reach the mechanism, so you do have to fill it up quite a bit. All right, let's try again. That's like a laser. Oh, it's so good. It's really, really good. Okay, cool. Perfect. It still works. We can put it all together. I'm using a 5-minute epoxy for most of the assembly here. I like that amount of time, 5 minutes to work, and then it sets up pretty quickly. Because we have several parts to do, and we'll start by doing the sort of butt cap on this thing. Got part number 1. And this is the bare plastic that we're gluing to, which is good. We had that tape on there that we pulled off to keep it clean. And that should get everything. Oh, it locks right into place. Yeah. Then we've got this little cap that just goes right on the end there. And all of this will go here, all the way around the edge. And this will have to be taped in place to hold it. That's still curing, but I can install these parts here. I think I'm just going to use a little super glue. They should be pretty snug, so I'm not worried about them falling out. That just goes in like that. Very nice. And in you go. Yeah, and they just want to stay in there. Mix up another tiny batch of epoxy here for my screw heads. They are fake screw heads, so they just get stuck in place. And I'm going to just tape that down so it doesn't go anywhere. And on the back there's these, whatever the heck these are. Same deal. You can see I've sanded through the paint, so we have a nice clean bit of plastic there to work on. And in it goes. There we go. Got this last sort of stack of things to put together, and I'm just taking all the masking tape off. Saves us so much time. We don't have to come back in and sand all this. Sand that finish off. Just down to bare plastic. It's so good. I'm going to start with a little epoxy in here and all over there. And again, these were taped off spots that are now bare for the gluing. And these are all going to ride on this aluminum rod. It should provide some nice structure. Let's put a little more glue on the aluminum. There we go. One part after the next. Oh, that is so snug. All right, a little more glue around there. Oh yeah. There goes that one. Boy, this is getting exciting. This is just the end tube. It looks so good. I can tape that. It's probably a good idea. There we go. The last little bit of decoration is this thing here, and I want to scuff up the edge of this where it's going to glue down to the plastic, just so it's got a little something to actually grab onto. This is a thing I could picture getting bumped on set and just flying off somewhere and being lost because it's so tiny. We want to give it every chance it has to survive the shoot. It does feel a little sacrilegious sanding through this beautiful glossy coat. But this is necessary. All right, got my glue ready. I'm just gonna put some in here all around this edge. It doesn't have a huge area where it actually touches down. Could be a bit of a design flaw. But I also modeled this like 6 years ago, so I'm not gonna beat myself up over it. All right, let's glue all over the inside of that rim. We're just gonna carefully touch it down. A little bit of squeeze out in there. We can maybe wipe that off. Oop. Just making a mess now. That looks fine. I'm going to tape that down so I'm not tempted to touch it anymore. Oh no, it's moving. Stay put. There we go. There we go. Last bit is the little parts here that are going to go in. We're going to just super glue those in. We'll start with this ring that I made. That's going to go around the edge. Set that in there. Wonderful. And then I need a tiny bit of glue on the inside of this thing. And then to line that up with the little guy in there, we have a pin that can go through. There. That's on there, I think. Just let that dry and give it another test squirt. Look at it. Oh, I'm so pleased with how this turned out. Let's see, fill it up with a little more water and give it another test run. Probably more than I need. There we go. All right. It shoots a little to the right. That's just fine. I think Zach will be over the moon with this. I am so pleased with how this turned out. I'm so glad I finally got to finish this thing and fulfill the vision that we had so many years ago. I'll have to send a picture of this to Norm because he was helping me with this when we got started. That'll wrap it up. Like I said, this is going to Zack Finfrock. We'll have links to all his stuff down below, including the short film that he's going to be using this in, if it's out by the time this video comes out. So thanks, Zack, for reaching out to work on that project. That was super fun. We sent a bunch of stuff to him. We're going to have a whole pile of Fallout things for him to use, including this thing here. So happy. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today, coming along with us on this journey. It's been a blast. An extra special thanks goes out to the members of our Extra Credit Club. We've got a link down below where you can join either here on YouTube or on Patreon. Those are the fine people who keep us employed. So thank you very much. We appreciate the support, and we appreciate you hanging out today. That'll do it for us. We'll have a new video very soon. Keep an eye out for that, and happy crafting. Bye. Right in there. It's so easy. Could be. Oh no, I have to find that. Here's hoping that that's the handle. It's time to glue the handle on. I'm going with a 5-minute epoxy here, so I have a little time, and it should be plenty strong. I have the glove on the wrong hand. And then to line that up with the little guy in there, we have a pin. Find that spot for us. And then, did I do it? No. Try again. Bye. Bye.
Bye.